Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I want to talk a little bit about tone. So there's a lot of debate online, as you guys probably know, where tone comes from. Some guys believe it's in your hands, some guys believe it's in your gear, your guitar, your pickups, woods on your guitar, strings, and all the deal. And I think probably comes from everything. It probably makes sense to assume that your tone comes from a variety of things that are involved in your playing style, your amp, your gear, right? But few people actually don't realize that, and this video is about that, the way you pick is actually, at least for me, where the juicy tone comes from. Now let me explain this. I have here a patch in Boss Katana Gen 3 down here, and I'm capturing with my Sennheiser E906 into Logic, and it has a little bit of gain right now, and then it has over that a boost. So imagine if you're playing scale or some melody or solo, anyway, anything that you can play. This is more related to solos than actually rhythm guitar, but the same principle will apply. So if you're playing like in the key of E minor and you start here in the middle of the neck, you know, this line that I just did, this doesn't have to do with your picking technique. If it's alternate, if it's hybrid, if it's economy picking, it really doesn't matter. What matters is the way you pick your strings. And most of people that I see online playing guitar, not just online but in life in general, especially those guys that are really fast and really good at alternate picking, I think sometimes the tone is not there for many people because they're just using their pick like this. So if I just use my pick, let's go here to another place. It can be here. If I just use my pick to do a phrase in the pentatonic here, and most people play like this when they're practicing, and especially when they're recording their solos and stuff like that. I'm not talking about the robotic sense of play, because you can play this in a more jazzy feel, blues feel, whatever you want to call it, but with accentuations and stuff like that. But it's always the guitar, the pick, it's involved. Now, if I do the same thing, and this is where it gets interesting, at least for me, I don't know if you guys ever tried this or heard about that, because I couldn't find much information on the web, is the fact that I'm just not picking with the pick, but also with my nail on the index finger, and also with my skin from the this finger. Forget the name right now. Okay, so whenever I want to do it more juicy, you can so without that technique would sound like, some phrase would sound like this. Now if I do it the way I do, you hear the difference? I'm picking with my nail and also with my pick. Without it, especially here on the neck pickup. Of course, some harmonics may be introduced. So it's not a question of strength, question of putting there your nail. If I do that normally without my technique, at least, it sounds like this. But if I do it, and then comes also those, whenever you strike a note, instead of just going, you hear a lot of guys doing that, like John Mayer and other guitar players, many famous guitar players. know? It's not new. But putting there the finger and the nail at the same time, I recently released a single, and the main phrase is something like, so if I play this like I normally without that technique, it's not bad, but if I do it like this, sounds much better, much more juicy. I'm gonna add some gain here. Of course, this doesn't apply if you're playing legato. As long as you finish the legato, you can do that. And combined added harmonics that you get from that note will also be very interesting in your solo phrasing. And when I'm doing this, you know, on the low strings, I'm actually picking more with my skin from my thumb than actually from the pick, as if I was without a pick. Kind of similar. This would be more like, you know, very not interesting if you do. You know, this is kind of boring. If you do it like. Now this applies more to your signal if you have some gain, some distortion, because if the guitar is totally clean, it doesn't work that well. Now in this case, because we have gain, I just roll down the volume and it works pretty good. Also using sometimes just your fingers, but that's another thing. Of course, if you go for high speed stuff, you know, you're practicing your scales and whatnot. It's kind of hard or impossible to apply that. Or even arpeggios, you're not going to do that. And you stop, you know. And I think most of that juicy tones come from this technique, which is really easy to apply, you know. You just have to use more of your skin and your nail. It doesn't have to be long, the nail, by the way. It's just the nail touching the string. It does something magic to the tone that otherwise you can get. And sometimes people say that's not really of a juicy tone when you're using a patch or something like that. It has to do with the way you play it. So if you accentuate with your finger, like I said before, and your nail, certainly makes more sense and sounds much better. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you guys have tried this before, the technique that I'm doing here, but for me, it's basically what gives me that juicy tone that we all love and hear, especially if you have a tube amp. And I don't have a tube amp right now. I mean, I have a lot of them, but it's the Gen 3 that it's working, And it really sounds like a tube amp. Those kind of has that harmonic saturation that you can hear with tubes and valves, whatever you want to call it, just by using your fingers. I think guys like Andy Timmons, when they play like, you know, they add that extra sauce. And that's what makes it juicy. Now, I hope you guys find this video useful for your technique. Please try it out. Let me know how it sounds for you. But most of the times, that's the way I play. And sometimes people refer to my tone as, you know, as good tone. And I think it has to do with this, the way you pick, and not necessarily the amp that you're using, the guitar that you're using, the pickups that you're using. Lately, I found myself using this guitar a lot because it's very easy to play. As you can see here, it's losing its, it's becoming shiny, right? Where I pick and where my arm rests, because it's all, I'm always forgetting names. You know, it's like, not faded, but Satan. That's it, Satan. Okay. So I hope you guys, once again, enjoyed this tip. Please let me know if it works for you or if this is just nonsense from my head, because, you know, might be. And stay tuned for more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I see you on the next one. Cheers.